Kick it. All right. Thanks for joining us. We are here, the Hardheaded podcast. With
Trussell
me,
Media Studios.
That's right. With me, as always, Mr. Matt Amos and Mr. Chet Sears. Today, we got a great show for you. We are going to talk about the top three.
Optimistic.
Top three long-term
We'll tell
savings.
you if it's great afterwards. We're not really sure right now.
It's always phenomenal. I listen to every episode we produce. Top three long.
That was awesome.
Chet about knocked himself out with his microphone there. Top three long-term saving tips.
Investment tips.
Investment tips.
Which is different than saving.
Well, mine might.
Awesome.
Awesome. Phenomenal show is in jeopardy. We're going to have to see how this plays out.
Yeah, anyway, we'll see. I think it's still a good top three on mine. We're going to hear a good word from Chet. And to start us off, Matt, what's on your mind?
Merry Christmas, Matt.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Troy.
Merry Christmas.
We are in the season.
Or Happy Christmas. Does that trigger you?
I don't like it as much as
When
Merry
somebody
Christmas.
says Happy Christmas?
I don't mind merry or happy. I prefer merry.
Yeah, I mind happy. Don't do it.
You don't like it?
No, don't do it.
I really don't like it.
Because
either,
you're
but
like intentionally trying to be different, which is, so don't try hard.
yeah. So this time of year is basically one of my favorite times of year. I don't know why.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
It is the most wonderful time of year. And so I want to find out from you guys what your holiday traditions are with your family. Like growing up, what did you take from your family that you've now instituted in your family and then blended with your new family, with your wife, bringing in the traditions from both sides? So for me, one of the things that we always had growing up was a real Christmas tree. My mom would not, and this has been a cause of discontent,
Consternation
in our home, is because I like real Christmas trees. I like the smell. It's even better if we can actually go to one of the Christmas tree farms and cut it down ourselves.
Where do you go?
There's a place down in Derby
Yeah.
that has some really good trees down
Kind
there.
of out in the country?
Yeah.
Do you like
Well, no, it's actually not too far off of K15 down there.
Dadgummit, that backfired on me pretty good. I grew up next to a Christmas tree farm
Did you?
in the country.
In the country?
If you would have said, "Oh yeah, it's way out there in the country," I'm like, "Yeah, because all Christmas tree farms are."
No, there's two or three of them here, and they're not really that far outside the city.
Do you like to barter with the guy, like on A Christmas Story, where the old man really liked to barter with the Christmas?
I'm not much of a barterer when it comes to that, and it's like, because they give you the price list when you get there, and they're like, "This is how much it's going to be for this tall and this tall." Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that in my house, my wife doesn't believe that an 8-foot tree fits with the star or the angel, whatever we have on top that year.
Yeah, you know what I was on top of our tree? A deer.
A deer.
A deer head. Not like a real deer head. It's an artificial.
So
It's an antler themed tree
okay,
that my wife did, which is shocking to me, but it's well done.
I like it.
So she doesn't want you to have an 8-foot tree.
Well, she doesn't want me to have a real tree, number one, because she complains about having to put the water in, and then it makes when she's helping me or I'm helping her or however you want to say it, put it up, it makes her all itchy. But that's just one of the things that I have not let up on is I like the real Christmas tree because I like the smell. And so I was I was down in Kentucky and they had a fake tree that they put up, and they're like, do you use real or fake trees? I was like, real tree only. And like, why? Well, because I like the smell. Oh, well, they got these little things that you can stick in the tree and make it smell like a Christmas tree. And so they had these little sticks that they hung, these little green sticks that had, I'm assuming, like a fur oil or something on them, which strangely enough I have for Admiral's Pennant, because as soon as I smelled it, I was like, yeah, that's fir needle oil. I recognize that smell. And then they put it on the tree, and I was like, this is not the same. That's not fresh. It's not fresh cut. That's not pine, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of the traditions that we've brought to our house. And then, you know, growing up, it was always a tradition to have chili on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not a Christmas thing, but okay.
But it's cold weather.
Yeah, I'm with you on the weather,
chili.
but it just doesn't ring Christmas.
That's Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, you do, you know, your ham or whatever you're going to do. And that's one that we haven't really kept. Every now and again, we'll get that one out. But I don't know if Christmas feels the same to me now as it did when I was a kid.
When you believed in Santa Claus?
No, I don't know. And I don't know if my kids have that same feeling around this holiday and what it's for as much as I did when I was growing up. Have you noticed that with any of yours?
Our kids are just all about presents.
Well, and they're still pretty young.
Yeah. I don't know. They all know the reason for the season because we've told them, and we read the Christmas story. And that's one of the traditions that we had as a kid growing up. Always read the Christmas story. I guess my sister read it before I could read, and then I took over and read it every year on Christmas Eve. And then we would have dinner and open gifts afterwards. My family always went way crazy overboard on gifts. If my mom had her way, she'd still go crazy overboard with gifts. Mom, feel free with the kids, not with me. But, yeah, so we've tried to rein that in. And that's caused some friction between our family from the past, bringing in new traditions, which kind of take away from the old tradition. So that's been kind of
right. Well, it's like I've done this for 18 years, whatever with you, and now all of a sudden that 18-year tradition of you growing up, we're not doing that anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Which we did it for a few years, but now there's 9. Can I add 8 grandkids? It's like, do you really want to go overboard with 8 grandkids? Like, I don't think you do. Maybe they do, but so we started drawing names for the adults. So you could buy one gift for an adult, and we usually do it on Thanksgiving, which we didn't even do this year. So I don't know what we're doing. Yeah, it's been really nice because you don't have to spend a lot of money. Just buy some stuff for the kids and something for one other family member, and it's great. It's not all about the gifts. Shouldn't be.
No, and that's the funny thing is my mom and my dad both over the last, I don't know, I think it's been the last 2 years, have been like, well, hey, is there anything that you need or that you want for Christmas? And just give me that list. And they're like, no.
Yeah, I think that Christmas lists, I think, damper gift giving.
So I think
they just say no, and then you're left on your own to think about them.
Yeah, and
what have I paid attention to? What have I noticed they needed, or what do I have that they would really enjoy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, and I find that for me anyway, actually going out and shopping for that person, not just doing it online, but finding something and going out and purposely trying to find something as you're going through.
This is Matt Amos talking here.
Yeah.
Like you like going into stores all of a sudden?
That's the only time of year I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I can go find something, I'll be, oh, that's really good. I think I want to do that. And then I'll check the online price. And if I get cheaper online, then I do that. But
you got the idea in the store, so it's the thought that counts.
Right. At least I like to think so.
Well, it is what you're thinking if it's the thought.
And I did go out and last year, and I'm trying to think of the name of it. But I got each one of my parents what was the coin that the lady gave? she didn't have. It's a biblical story. She didn't have anything. Is it the
2 pennies?
The mite?
the mite? But is it the widow's mite?
Think so.
Is that it?
Something like that.
I searched forever to try to find him, and ended up. Guess where I got 2 of them?
At Walmart.
No, Gold and Silver Pawn. Old the Pawn Stars. They had. I was searching online, and then the Gold and Silver Pawn came up, and I was like, "That's the Pawn Stars." And so I looked. They had 2 of those coins, and then so they sent them out, and then that's what I gave my mom and dad was the widow's mite.
Yeah.
Each of them one of those, 2,000-year-old coin.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool to look at. And then I got them both because they're not really tech savvy, and so I bought them season 2 of The Chosen
On DVD.
along with some swag. But
Nice.
Hopefully they're not listening because.
this year,
Oh, that was last year.
yeah, that was
Okay.
last year. I'm not giving away
I
anything.
thought Christmas was done rent.
No, I haven't. As of this recording, I have not done any shopping whatsoever.
Ah.
I went simple this year, and at least for my
You got everybody matching pajamas?
no, I did something a little. I'll show you guys after the podcast, but I did something that I think's pretty neat for my girls anyway.
Yeah.
But it wasn't all about big extravagant gifts, and then that's what I got to tell parents too, because when the kids were younger, they would get from grandma and grandpa like a dollhouse, and dollhouse is like this big.
Take up square footage in the house.
And I'm like, we can't continue to do that. There's no room. But yeah, because this is not all about the gifts, but and then tradition wise, so we would, if we begged and pleaded hard enough, we would be able to open one gift on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Or if we had company over, like cousins or whatever, we would open their gifts that night, and then, families on Christmas. But that was one of the traditions that we always had.
Yeah, so we didn't have any family stuff because I was a military brat and we never grew up around family. Never. It was just me, my sister, my mom, and my dad for all of our Christmases until we started getting married. So, but the routine was Christmas Eve, we'd open one present, but we got to pick it. But my mom was like, you could pick from this group because you never could get the big gift on Christmas Eve.
That's the special present.
Yeah. And then we'd wake up early on Christmas morning. My mom was more excited about Christmas than anybody. Like that was her. She loved it. So, we got up on Christmas morning, opened presents. One thing that was different from Troy's family was the individual unwrapping, which happened before the grandkids came. So I don't know what it was like. I mean, this is a thing. I didn't even think it was a thing. Like, it's like, oh, it's time to open presents. Go. And typically the kids would all just go. And then, maybe the adults would start opening some a little slowly. And then, of course, there's a lot fewer presents for the adults. But we get to the Trussell Tatum family
Christmas.
and we're all sitting around, and they're like, okay.
Who wants to open first?
Troy and Chet, go get all the presents, and everybody take your seats. And it was literally like pile up all the gifts next to that person. And then it's like, okay, we're going to go from oldest to youngest.
Yep.
And then one present at a time.
It takes hours.
I can imagine with that many.
Like 11:30 or midnight. And we're just like, what, huh? I was thinking what? Really?
So what's funny about
this
that
is still going
is
this is past my bedtime.
We used to do that at my house, but it was Christmas morning, and a majority of the time it was just me and my family. We'd go to the grandparents maybe in the afternoon or whatever, the Christmas Eve or not Christmas Eve, because my dad was always, he was the music minister at the time, and so we'd be at the Christmas Eve service, and so. Now we do it that same way. And my mom made a comment at Thanksgiving. It was like, it just gets so late.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we're going to start earlier.
Yeah.
Like instead of having,
we started doing that too.
Instead of having Christmas dinner, why don't y'all come over around noon, have some snacks, do whatever, then do the presents, and then we can do a smaller dinner.
Yeah.
Because everybody would be filled up on appetizers or whatever. But we started doing that same thing. Put the presents in a pile next to the person, and then we do the youngest or the oldest to the youngest.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a eye opener getting into that tradition. From where I grew up, it was just like go, and everybody's like, and then we all clean up the paper.
I think it was that way for us. Like the first year we got back, and the kids just started tearing into presents, and then it was like, oh, Grandma got me this gift, and Grammy got me this gift, but they don't know who gave him what gift.
Yeah.
And so they don't know who to thank or whatever, for that particular. So
there's
like
a time to do that. Like when you're admiring, that's the thing. You open up all at the same time, and then you're like, oh, I got this phone. And then Matt's like, yeah, I thought of you when I bought, oh, thank you, Matt. I really appreciate this phone. And then, oh, I got this laptop over here. Oh, yeah, thanks, Troy. You can still do that. You don't have to like unwrap the thing, throw the paper away, ask for the scissors to cut the box, open the box, fold the box back, tuck the box away so we could use it again next year. Yeah. No.
I don't. Yeah.
And by the way, your granddad got white T-shirts and Virginia peanuts, but we still had to watch them unwrap. We all knew what they were in the box, but we're still watching the whole unwrapping thing going on.
Yeah.
Not dogging it. It was just different from what I grew up. But I don't remember doing a big meal or anything on Thanksgiving or on the Christmas Eve. But then we'd have a big shindig
Christmas dinner
on Christmas Day. But not much other tradition. That I did grow up like right next to a Christmas tree farm, and they piped music. So like on Thanksgiving Day, all the way to Christmas Eve, you could step outside my house and hear Christmas music, and sweat because you're in Louisiana.
Right.
It's
There's
so
no
hot,
snow.
Yeah, you don't have to have snow to grow Christmas trees.
No, I'm just saying that you got the Christmas music, and
Yeah,
that was kind of the weird thing when we moved to California. And it was Christmas. It's just like it doesn't feel like Christmas.
no cool weather.
However, one of my coolest Christmas ornaments came from California because we went to a place that I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations is over. That we weren't technically probably supposed to cut a Christmas tree down, and me and my buddy who lived in the barracks, we went, cut one down, and as we were cutting them down, it's in the mountains and started snowing, and now it feels like Christmas, and then we got the trees down, and he would always decorate his room just great. Like his room was just Christmased out. And, and then we'd take the tree back to the house and we'd decorate and all that kind of stuff. But on that tree, there was a marker, and it had been shot, I don't know how many times. And so I put a hook through one of the bullet holes on it, and it hangs on my tree.
Still to this day.
Still to this day. My wife hates it because it's the most awful looking thing ever. But I was like, well, you were pregnant with Lily. And when we were cutting the tree down, I'm standing next to the tree, and I got my buddy's hat with the things that come down.
Flaps,
and I've got them all, out, and I've got the axe in my hand, and she's like, I don't know, eight months pregnant at the time with my daughter. And so I was like, it's just kind of a memory from that moment where you're just sitting in the truck, 8 months pregnant. Like, why am I here?
Yeah.
But anyway, just the Christmas mood. I guess that's what's been on my mind. Not really anything particular.
That's a tough thing, though. Like the generational transitions with Christmas traditions.
Blending family traditions together can be tough.
Yeah.
Especially when people are set in their way, and you got to hear it from your parents, and then you got to hear it from the in-laws, and just like, let's just come together and have a good time. And it probably irritates both sides because I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah. The 4 stages of life. Number 1, you believe in Santa Claus. Number 2, you don't believe in Santa Claus. Number 3,
you become Santa Claus.
You are Santa Claus. Number 4, you look like Santa Claus.
You, sir,
Yeah,
are looking.
You're headed to stage 4, Chet.
Yeah.
It's like DEFCON 4. Look out.
DEFCON.
Anyway,
Good
that's
stuff, man.
what's
I
been
like
on my
it.
mind. Merry Christmas to all of our listeners and viewers.
Yeah.
Ho, ho, ho. Let's take a break.
That was a bowl full of jelly.
Are you driving traffic to your website? Do you have an engaging homepage? Better yet, does your homepage have a video? We recently created a video for a client about his business and the services they provide. Since he placed the video on the homepage of their website, he has had a number of clients specifically say they decided to use his services because of that video. At Trussell Media, we help businesses create engaging videos to host on their websites, email to clients, and use in their social media marketing. Contact us if you're interested in creating a video for your homepage today. TrussellMedia.com. Fill out the form at TrussellMedia.com/contact. Let us help you tell your story through video. All right, we're back. Top 3. Top 3 long-term financial
Investment tips.
investment tips.
Financial investment tips. Oh, that's good. We're not investing time here. We're investing money. Financial investments.
Chet, what you got?
Pick what you know. Don't invest in things that you are ignorant about. So if you are interested in investing in a company, do some research on that company if you don't already know them. So if you don't shop, if you're not a customer of what they provide, and you're like, oh, I think everybody's investing in that, I'm going to do it too, and you don't know anything about them, that's a dumb thing to do. You need to know what it's about. And
Because when the quality stops and everybody bolts, you don't know because you don't use it.
yeah, and one of the ways that I do that is I go and find, if it's a company that I don't know that well, I'll go and find their latest annual report. So you'll find one that's at least less than 12 months old. Typically, you just through a Google search, and you can start reading up. They have a table of contents in the front of it that kind of tell you what they're thinking about, what they're focused on, all those kind of things, and get to know a little bit about them, what their headwinds are, what some tailwinds they have, some things that they're thinking about in the future. Maybe some government regulations that are impacting the industry and whatever they're in, and you kind of get to know a lot more about them. So that's also a good interview tip if you're going to interview for a company. You read that, and you'll know some things about that company when you go to interview with them. But that helps you know the companies.
What's that thing called again?
The annual report.
report.
Number 2, and you could already. I could argue it should be number 1, but I had to put it somewhere. Consistently invest and start early. So the compounding interest.
Excuse me.
What are you shaking your head for?
Nothing.
If you know how compounding interest works, $100 a month saved starting at 22 or 23 per month, or invested per month, will do more than $200 invested per month at 32. So, and that's not even increasing it at 100. It's going to be more. The earlier you invest, the better. Don't hesitate, and do it consistently. Get a plan and stick to it. If that's a automatic withdrawal from your direct deposit straight to an investment provider that you have, then do it where you don't even see that money. Number 1, get a financial advisor. I highly recommend to get somebody that pays attention to this for you, as opposed to you checking daily, which don't do that. But get a financial advisor. My advice to you would be find one that is a fiduciary, which means that they have to act on your best behalf versus the investing company's best behalf. So they have to take your will, the goodness for you first, as opposed to saying, I'm going to invest things where the company's going to make more money and it's not going to benefit you more. They have to benefit you more than the company. So They actually have to register that way. So it's a fiduciary is a thing that's easy to find, and your good financial advisors are already there. And I definitely use one. And don't be afraid to argue with them. Like if you know a company that they don't know, have that discussion. They can go educate themselves. I've done that. It's been great. And then they've taught me some things about certain companies too. But overall, my portfolio's managed very well and very diversified. And all of it hurt these last 6 months.
All of it.
There you go.
I like it. Matt.
I mean, it's almost literally.
What you had written down?
Is that why you're shaking your head the whole time?
Yes, it's almost literally the exact same. So, for me, number one would be the same thing. That's my advice to anybody when I'm talking about investing is know what you're getting into, know the company, and whether that's like Chet said, looking at the annual report, or even if like using the product. So take Black Rifle Coffee Company, for example. I know a little bit about that company and have kind of followed their progress and what they were doing. And when they initially went public earlier this year, I bought in on that initial investment. So, and I didn't do that through a financial advisor, which I'll get to the financial advisor in one of my other tips here, or top threes. But I knew that it was going to spike because most IPOs that launch, they'll have a quick jump, and then as soon as everybody initially makes that big money, they sell. And so then that stock takes a hit, and then it stays down there for a while until they kind of grow, and then that money hopefully eventually comes back. Sometimes they don't, and that's just the gamble that you take. And I sold and made some good money on Black Rifle when it went up before it kind of tanked with this whole economy tanking as well. So know the company and know what you're investing in. Don't just go blindly investing in something that sounds good because it
no FOMO.
Yeah, I don't. So I don't know a whole lot about crypto. So I kind of stay away from it. Because I don't understand it enough. I've got a little bit of money to play with in there, but it's nothing that I'm going to be worried about losing. Number two, don't invest more than you're willing to lose. Because there's a lot of people that saw some of these cryptos going, skyrocketing and getting in when it was, let's say like is it Dogecoin, or I think that's how they pronounce it. They bought it at 53 cents, and then I think it may have gone to, I don't know what it went up to total, but people that bought in a lot right there, and then they're like holding it. And then, the value went down to, I don't even know what it's sitting at today, but
I think it's like at 8 cents.
Yeah. I mean, so, they took a big hit on that, or, leave it in there in the hopes that it might return, which I don't know that it will. So don't put more in than you're willing to lose. And then number one is I've kind of changed it up based on what Chet said, because ours would have matched almost exactly. And my number one would be just do it. Set the money aside. Set yourself a monthly allotment for your investment, and whether that's whatever you can afford, whether it's $20 a month, whether it's $40, $100, $200, figure out what's safe for you. What luxuries, if it's a financial strain for you to do it, figure out what you can cut out now that doesn't really matter, whether that's going to Starbucks, every day, or whether you need to downgrade your cellular plan, because this is going to return benefits a lot more than that cup of coffee is in 10 years. And so take those little amounts of money and turn those into investments using, if you have no clue what you're doing, get a financial advisor and say, hey, here's what I want to do. And a lot of them have initial amounts that they'll let you buy in with. And then after that, it's kind of, you can put in whatever you want per month and say, hey, this is what I've got to work with here. And then just make sure that amount a month isn't overextending you. But the financial advisor is a huge piece of that. And I actually need to do that myself, just because recently I haven't had the time to look, which is again, one of the rules, don't look.
Yeah, and if you work for a company that matches 401k contributions,
get in
and go to their, if they do whatever, dollar for dollar up to 6%, which is unheard of now, but it used to be that way. Go 6%, because you're investing 12% of your salary at that point, 6 of your money and 6 of theirs. And so just do it. Like, don't think twice about it. Eat rice and beans if you have to for years. If you get that match, you go to that match point and get that. It's free money. It could, if you start young. I had this conversation with Stone. Like, the day you get your job out of college, you max out your 401k contribution based on their company match. You can't start soon enough. No. You just can't.
Yep.
And I look back at some of the decisions I've made, and it was like, because, when you join the Marine Corps makes you, it's called Thrift Savings Plan, and it's an investment. And so you can do different investment types, and when I was in, that money that they made me invest every month made me mad, because it's like, that's my money. You can't tell me what I'm going to do with my money. I want my money back. And so, you end up doing, the minimum or whatever it was, which I think at the time was maybe $25 or $50 a month is what went into a fund, And then when I retired, I had the opportunity to continue to invest in that plan or move it over to a Roth or whatever I wanted to do. And I looked at that and I was like, man, how much more money could that have been if I'd buckled down and
right.
gave
Because it wasn't pocket change.
Yeah. I mean,
even what little you did invest.
Yeah. I mean, and so, you over 10 years, doing that money a month, what would that have been?
Yeah.
Had I done a little more, maybe gone a little bit risky, because they had it all set out in like the thrift saving stuff. Like here's the safest that you can do, and then you can move it up, and this is kind of moderate, and moderate's kind of where I like to be, because that's whatever. But how much more money could it have been? Because I started that one like 23.
Yeah.
So do it today, and then it pays literally dividends in the future.
Yeah, literally.
All right, yeah. Number 3 for me is pay off all your debt. It's a good thing to do before you start investing. And once you start paying off all your debt, it creates like a snowball effect, right? It's kind of from Dave Ramsey's teaching. Start that snowball effect, and then once you pay off all of your debt, then you move into saving, and investing. Well, actually, he tells you save $1,000 first, then pay off all your debt, then save 3 to 6 months of earnings, salary,
of expenses,
of expenses.
Yeah. Yep.
And then start investing. So pay off all your debt. Number 2 for me was start saving yesterday, which y'all touched on that. And number 1, hire a trusted financial advisor. So we were all kind of on the same page there.
Literally right now, if you have never invested before in your life, right now is the time to get your money in the game.
Yeah, when the
stock
market is crashing.
Oh, it's so low right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, even, and a good financial advisor is going to be able to hopefully plan that out for you a little bit. But with the prices of stuff right now, it's a buyer's market.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get in. Do it now. Do it.
All right, Chet, you got a good word for us?
Well,
on this Christmas Eve?
I do. It comes from Luke chapter 2, believe it or not. Let me read you the Christmas story, and we'll have a conversation around that when I'm done. Coming from Luke chapter 2. And it came to pass in those days that the decree went out from Caesar Augustus that the world should be registered. This census first took place while Quirinius was governing Syria. I can imagine you reading this as a kid and how much fun it was when you came across words like that.
Yeah.
So all went to be registered, everyone to his own city. Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed wife, who was with child. So it was that while they were there, The days were completed for her to be delivered, and she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling cloths, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. Now there were in the same country shepherds living out in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. And behold, an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were greatly afraid. Then the angel said to them, Do not be afraid, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which will be to all people. For there is born to you this day the city of David a Savior, who is Christ the Lord. And this will be the sign to you. You will find a babe wrapped in swaddling cloths, laying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of heavenly hosts, praising God and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. So it was, with the angels had gone away from them into heaven, that the shepherds said to one another, Let us go now to Bethlehem, and see this thing that has come to pass, which the Lord has made known to us. And they came with haste, and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in a manger. And when they had seen him, they made widely known the saying which was told them concerning this child. And all those who heard it marveled at those things which were told to them by the shepherds. But Mary kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. Then the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things they had heard and seen as it was told to them. Before I jump to the 5 points from this article that I'll read to you, I think one of the things that stands out to me on this one, when the angel said, Unto you, he's talking to the shepherds. Like this Messiah was for everyone, and shepherds were not the highest in the hierarchy. They're actually relatively low, living out with the sheep. And the angel chose them to announce Jesus' birth, who he was, and said that he was born for you.
A lot of them were the youngest person in the family.
Yeah.
Historically speaking.
So 5 takeaways from Luke chapter 2 that we can apply for our lives today. This is an article from BibleStudyTools.com. It was released last year. Didn't have an author on it. 1, Jesus wasn't above simple circumstances. So if you think about how a king, the King of Kings, came into the earth, he came through one of the most poor and unflattering ways. Didn't even have an inn to stay, born in a barn and laid in a feed trough. God's glory, number 2, God's glory is worthy of our praise, even if we feel afraid. If we can remember, most every time angels appear to humans, the first thing they say is, don't be afraid. And if you think about it, they had to be pretty scared. And then you may get, okay, I have an angel here talking to me, and then all of a sudden, boom, you have all these heavenly hosts singing. Probably freaked me out a little bit too. But even if you're afraid in that circumstance, they, after all that, said, okay, now let's go check this thing out. Like, they're still ready to do what God told them to do, even though they're afraid. Number 3, when the Lord makes a promise, we can trust he will keep it. And that, if you look at the prophesying about the Messiah coming, where he'd come, when he'd come, all those things, God followed through on every bit of that. And then even down to the, hey, this just happened, why don't you go down and find him? And they went down and found him. Like, everything God says is going to be actually happens. Words from and about the Lord are to be treasured. They spoke about what had happened in a way that other people that heard their story were in awe. So the treasured words that they received to turn and tell people about it, people found that very valuable and treasured those words as well. And then if you think about, and this kind of gets later into Luke 2, one of the parts that I didn't read, but we should make time to learn from those older than us. If you look during Jesus' youth, he was still in the temple. He went to the temple to learn from other people. He was there. He actually started teaching not too long after this, but he was engaged with people that were older that he was learning from. We should do the same in all aspects of our life, because there is a lot of wisdom with the people that have gone through things that we have gone through or yet to go through. So that's a good word on this Christmas Day. I would encourage you to read that passage of Luke 2 with your family this Christmas. Anything else?
I think it's good.
There's the Chosen actually has the Christmas story, as I think it's season 1, but it's maybe the last episode of season 1, but it's the very first one that they released.
No, they did the director, he did a short movie for his church that was The Shepherd.
Yeah.
And it revolves around the Christmas story. And then after the first season, they did that Christmas actual like birth of Jesus with Mary and Joseph, a whole nother episode.
The Shepherd,
or maybe it was after season 2, because it was last year when they did it.
maybe, but the Shepherd is the one I'm talking about. But it's
Yeah.
very good because he was one of the shepherds that was in the field, and then so it's from his perspective of what that was like. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's good
Video.
That's the video that sparked the whole Chosen series, was that video.
Definitely worth the watch.
Yep.
As well.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Merry Christmas.
We'll talk to you not next year, next week.
Next week, just before the new year.
That's correct.
Thanks for listening to the Hardheaded Podcast. Don't forget to share this podcast with others to help us get the word out.
Also, if you haven't yet, please rate and review the show. This helps our podcast show up in other people's suggested shows that may or may not have listened to us before.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.